Like so far we're down in crypto like 70-ish K. Now next week poker profits gone.
Yeah. Check raised away all our money.
Okay, so for today's strategy session, we're going to be doing some pile work. We'll be looking at a spot that I think is going to prove to be counterintuitive to most players, and a spot that most people are playing relatively poorly, which is how we should defend from the big blind after we flatted versus a button 33% c-bet on high pair boards. We're looking at ace-ace-5 rainbow in this example, but the knowledge that we'll impart in this episode can be extrapolated to other high pair boards like king-king X and queen-queen X as well. So to start it off, we've already done this pile solve here. I can quickly show you two ranges. This is the out of position flatting range versus a button open.
Is that like our standard defending range against like 2 min raise 2.2x ish?
Yeah.
How deep are we here?
25 bigs.
Aren't we really jamming like ace and off and king and off and shit versus?
No, we're actually a bit deeper. I ran it at like starting pot is 5.5 bigs and we have like 30 behind.
30?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think, yeah. Okay, cool.
Definitely like some hands here could be reshoved as well. I think like the suited broadways are probably profitable. The ace size are probably profitable. But that's like just, isn't that relevant in this episode? Like flatting those hands is super high EV as well. So that's not what we're going to focus on.
Cool.
Anyways, so...
Are we showing the imposition range as well? Or?
Oh yeah, sorry. My bad. So this is a 49% button opening range.
Which could actually be in some cases way wider as well. Some people incorporated all of their suited.
Yeah, for sure. I think 49% was exactly the big 55 population average, if I'm not mistaken. So it's probably a pretty good approximate of what the pool is doing in mid-stakes entities.
Nice, let's get into it.
Yeah, so...
Should we do some guessing before we go into the answer?
Sure. So I didn't even give like out of position a leading range. I think this is how out of position should be checking here.
Yeah.
And this is how most people play this board.
Did you lock the option?
Yeah. So I didn't give him like a bet
But even
size.
if you don't lock it, I think it's gonna check 100% anyways.
It is. So here, nothing particularly surprising, I think. In position is supposed to bet almost his entire range with a small sizing.
Yeah.
So what is your guess, ESPEN? How are we supposed to defend from the big blind versus the c-bet?
Given that you don't have any of the pairs and you're missing the biggest ace-x combos, I wouldn't be surprised if you're not supposed to check raise here. But we have seen in a lot of these pair boards you're supposed to check raise heaps. But I think a lot of the reasoning that you're supposed to check raise so much on those boards is because you want to defend your pairs and stuff like that, and here you don't have any of them, so it might be a pure check call.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if you're supposed to check raise like 20% or something here either. I don't know.
Okay, so how much of our total range do you expect that we're defending? How much are we folding?
Versus this sizing, we're probably just folding like, I don't know, like 25% or something.
Okay. So...
Pure guesstimation here though.
Yeah, so you know the results, right?
Yeah, because we went through it. But I can try at least because I can't remember exactly. I think we folded like half of our range and we played pretty much 80% of continuing range was check raises, something like this, if I remember it correctly. That could be 886 as well we looked at, so let's see.
Let's see. So yeah, we are going to be raising a lot on this texture.
Yeah.
Going to be raising way more than our cash game beast ESPEN predicted.
75% of our continuing range should be by raises.
And I think like most people will probably think of this board pretty much in the same vein as ESPEN did. Like just thinking about how we're not going to have the strongest ace-x's. This seems like a board where imposition has a rather large range advantage. Where can I check the equities here? Like here, right? So yeah, like in position has 60% equity, which is like a huge equity advantage, right?
Yeah, that's pretty big.
So it is correct that the ranges are not symmetrical, but still we proceed on those pair boards pretty much purely by raising. And as you can see, like all the combos almost that we are calling, apart from like these couple of combos here, are mixed strategies. So this means that the EV of raising and calling is equal for those combos. So we can pretty much like take this strategy here now and see how imposition is supposed to respond to this GTO strategy, and then try to see if we can like derive any exploitative adjustments from it. So we can do the quiz thing again. So what do you think? How is imposition supposed to defend versus this 2.5x check raise here?
Let's see if we can do better this time. So I'm gonna guess that imposition is not gonna fold a lot here. He's probably supposed to float like insanely wide with like any broadways and like all the backdoors and all of that stuff. He's probably not supposed to raise that much. Yeah. I'm gonna guess that he's supposed to fold like 20% or something. Like something low at least.
And considering he opens 50% of the whole card combination he has there, oh my god, like he has to defend so much. It's like not gonna happen in real life.
So do you remember what the actual result was? I can quiz you as well.
So what imposition has to defend against our check raise? I think he had to defend pretty much like ESPEN said, something like ridiculously high, like 80% or 70% or and in reality that is not what's happening.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he had to defend over 95%. We'll see if I'm right. Wait, so no.
70%.
Yeah, it's 70%. I remember it being different, but maybe it was just another board or something.
86 maybe.
Yeah, maybe it was 86. Anyways, yeah, we're supposed to be defending quite a lot. And surprisingly, like we're raising some combos as well. I think this is pretty counterintuitive to most people.
Yeah, I'm raising here like ace 8, ace 9. It's like, what am I doing?
That's kind of weird. But it's an answer though to Villain's strategy, right? Because the Villain is supposed to check raise a lot of 5x and stuff. And if he does that, then we can punish that by bet 3-betting some ace-x.
Yeah, and it definitely seems to make a lot of sense to be check raising stuff like 6s and 7s, because those are the hands that are still going to have an equity advantage, I think, against Villain's check raising range, or at least be very close to like 50% equity, probably over that, considering how many bluffs Villain has. But those are like some of the most vulnerable hands, so they can really use the protection. So I guess this can be a takeaway as well. But yeah, like a lot of the free bet bluffs on the flop are like kind of counterintuitive, like 10-6 suited with a backdoor, Jack-6 suited with a backdoor. What do you make of this?
Yeah, fucking. Well, not sure about that, but like main thing what feels so mind blowing is like really free betting 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s for protection, which makes like complete sense. But I would never think about it in game.
Yeah.
That was like that's.
I think a big part of choosing your bluffs here is unblocking Villain's bluffs, because you saw Villain's bluffs was a lot of like King X. It was pretty like King X heavy, like all the King Queen and King Jack and King 10 and stuff.
Yeah.
So bluffing with a hand like 8-6 suited or whatever, I guess or because if you see here, like Villain is not bluffing the Jack X and the 10X, so having those is pretty good, unblocking his bluffs basically. But it's like it's not very helpful in game, I think, because people aren't playing this range anyways. People are misplaying this spot or misplaying compared to Pio, so it's not really helpful to play perfect against Pio because Villain is not Pio.
Okay, so I want to look at a couple of things. First, like maybe let's go linearly and let's look at what are the counterintuitive combos that we might not check raise here that are supposed to be check raised on this texture. And I think like first candidates that come to mind are those king X here.
Yeah.
I think for most people 5x's as well. Like I don't think most people would check raise. It's literally a protection range check raising here all our 5x's.
Yeah, I guess for me it's standard, but can't project my own thought process into others.
That's because you've been working on this spot though.
Yeah.
Like Regs who doesn't study, I don't think does this.
Yeah.
But King Queen, for example, seems kind of counterintuitive to me.
For
because
sure.
It has so much room to improve. It has a lot of showdown value. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think generally on paired boards, as much as I've studied them, you can always check raise, always do check raise 2 overcards plus backdoor flush draw. So that's like one takeaway that you can extrapolate to different boards. But the stronger broadways, even without the backdoor flush draw, you raise at a high frequency. And with the backdoor flush draw, pretty much always. So yeah, I guess those hands. And I assume like for the weaker kings, you just use the backdoor flush draws. Okay, so that was one thing. Now I wanted to look at what are the counterintuitive calls that we need to make as in position versus someone that is playing a good strategy. And see how much the pool is going to deviate and what the proper exploitative adjustment versus that is going to be. We can do some node locking.
Yeah.
I guess we can just go to the node locking interface straight away, so we can answer both of our questions there. You have the old Pio, right?
I haven't updated probably.
You haven't updated for a while. Okay.
I'm old school, man. What's the problem?
Yeah, so I think that most people are gonna fold like all of those king X, probably. Or what do you think? Would you consider folding them? You're pretty good, right?
I wouldn't, but I would fold some of the other floats here, like Jack 8 suited with a backdoor and stuff. I would probably fold, which I see PO calls.
Because I think most people, when they look at their floats, they think about like connection to the board when they have some straight draws and stuff that can connect, especially if they don't have a high card.
Yeah.
And on a board like ace-5, it's not that easy. Like even with 6-7 of hearts right now, this would be one of the best combos. But I feel like if somebody check raises me here, 30 big blinds effective, not that much maneuverability. I don't think everyone defends those combos even.
Yeah, I feel like, tell me if I'm marking any combos that you think I shouldn't mark, but
These are folds, right?
yeah, these are folds.
All offsuit, everything I feel like. Maybe I keep in those higher king queen.
Yeah,
king
I guess we can keep in those as well.
Yeah, I think so. So what's gonna happen here now is that when we node lock this, we're gonna see the strategy change to like pure check raise fucking...
I guess we can keep in those as well. Those are like the backdoor straight draws. Might be decent.
7-4 of hearts. Are you really defending 7 of hearts here?
I guess who am I kidding? People are not defending those hands.
No. You're like, whatever, I'm gonna find a better spot, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's node lock this. Set strategy and close. And now we're gonna have to rerun the solve. So that's going to take a while. I guess we can do a quiz again. How you think our strategy is going to change?
Yeah, we're going to check raise a lot.
Yeah, it was 30% before, so...
Was it 30% check raise, 10% call, and 60% folds?
Yeah, something like that, I think.
Or wasn't that...
A bit over 10% call, I think, like 15% call. No?
Wasn't that the imposition strategy? I'm getting confused now.
I'm going to guess that the call is going to disappear.
Completely? Okay. And what do you think, what the check raise frequency is going to be?
It's going to take over all those calls, I guess. Folds are going to stay kind of the same, I think. Maybe a bit less folding.
Okay, so we're going to check raise like, what, 50% of the time?
Yeah, probably. But I've been wrong before.
I'm gonna take a leap of faith here and guess that we're gonna check raise any two.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I might be wrong
But
there.
we didn't lock that hard. We didn't like.
Yeah, we
it
only
wasn't
locked.
that ridiculous of a change, right? It's.
But it often it doesn't have to be that hard. It just needs to push over the equity threshold that you need for any two. But I could be mistaken. I could definitely see that.
One thing we might have mistaken right now is we didn't lock his betting strategy, in position betting
Yeah, maybe
strategy.
we'll have to do that as well. This is precise enough anyway for our purposes. We'll see. So yeah, I guess one thing that might happen right now is that in position is going to just check back a lot more, right? Because now if it's going to fold so much, those hands perform better as a check. And bio rebalances its range there. So we'll see. Check. Yeah, we have to lock this one as well.
Because now we can see this, he's actually checking back 40%, but it's his actual strategy, most people is c-betting almost whole range. So
We can just use the force out of position check in position bet, I guess.
So if we click on force out of position check, in position bet, it means out of position always checks and the in position always uses 100% c-bet strategy.
Yeah, so we have the correct solve now. So what were our guesses? How much do we have to check raise? Mine was any two, which was like 50% there. What is yours?
I'll go 80 then.
80.
Give up some fucking...
Okay.
Because we defend like really bad offset combos as well.
Let's see. So I guess the boy here is victorious.
No, but there's like 0.20.
Yeah, that's obviously just like the Pio error that stems from Pio solving the things the way it does.
If we let it run for eternity, it will be 0.
So if we check raise this, we've locked the in position's calling range. Can we show the in position's calling range now as well after our raise?
So yeah, I think like the assumptions we make here are very reasonable. If anything, I see people actually folding more, not less. I see people like folding those kings with backdoor flush draws. I don't think those are like very intuitive floats for many people, like king 10 off, like all of that stuff.
Even I feel like we've now maybe made him fold too many. Maybe we should give them some backdoor floats with queen high flushes, like queen jack, queen 10, jack 10 suited, at least half even. But maybe it doesn't change the strategy that much anyway.
I don't think it's enough to incentivize us to not check raise that much.
Yeah, at least it's gonna be at least 80% anyway.
Yeah, well.
So what did we learn?
I guess like there are several takeaways that you can take from this video. First of all, like even if your opponent is playing perfectly versus you, you still should be check raising those high pair boards, big blind versus button, at a frequency that is way higher than most people do. On this board it was 30% in the Nash equilibrium. So the second takeaway is that versus a good regular you should be defending versus check raises way wider than most people do. Like all king guys pretty much, all broadways with backdoors. I don't think many people are defending. And also a lot of those backdoors with backdoor straight draws. Yeah. You should be defending, but it's probably good to defend less than the Nash equilibrium in this spot because the pool is not bluffing enough, so we should adjust by defending less. Yeah. And the final takeaway is that since the pool is not calling enough versus check raises here because they're folding a lot of their backdoor straight draws and backdoor flush draws with queen highs, jack highs, king highs that they should be calling, we can check raise the spot ridiculously wide. I'm not even necessarily saying that you should like always go any two here super recklessly.
Let's do it for a week and see how it goes.
But like I've been going like super ham on these boards and it doesn't seem like people can combat this in any way because like they don't have the information about how I'm playing and they just think of the meta game, which is that people are not bluffing enough here, so they just overfold. So I think this is one of the spots in the current meta game where the pool has pretty large leaks compared to what is correct or game theory optimal, and where you can capture a lot of EV by adopting those aggressive strategies that might seem counterintuitive at first.
We're not going to get respect on Unibet streets now for check raising.
Yeah, luckily we can change our nicknames every day, so it's not going to be a problem.
It's good.
Yeah. So I guess this is it. Do you guys want to add something?
Yeah, in before Buster. Like so far we're down in crypto like 70-ish K. Now next week poker profits gone.
Yeah. Check raised away all our money.
Okay, guys. Catch you next week. We'll be back with another strategy episode. And also leave in the comments what topics you'd like us to cover next.
Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, Baka.